Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. One more episode solo for me. Dylan's on his way back from Atlanta, coaching some baseball. Recapping this week before we hop into this weekend's games. Starting in the American League, Texas ended up taking 2 of 3 from the Angels on the road. Detroit took 3 of 4 from Cleveland. Tampa Bay ends up taking 2 of 3 from the Yankees in the Trop. The Boston Red Sox took 2 of 3 from the Oakland A's, and the Minnesota Twins took care of business against the Chicago White Sox, taking 2 of 3. They had a doubleheader in that series as well. In the National League, the Mets swept the Washington Nationals. The Phillies ended up sweeping the Dodgers at home. A little bit of a shock there. 2 heavyweights going at it for sure. A lot of star power obviously missing from that series with Schwarber, Mookie Betts, and obviously a Harper out of that lineup for the Phillies. Cincinnati ends up taking 3 of 4 from Colorado. Pittsburgh narrowly takes 2 of 3 against Milwaukee. They won 1-0 in that rubber match to take that series. And then rounding out the National League, Arizona picked up a 1-0 win over Atlanta in that 4th game to salvage a split in that one. Heading over to the Interleague, Toronto took care of business on the road in the Bay Area, taking 2 of 3 from San Francisco. Baltimore ended up getting swept by the Cubs. A little bit of a shock there for sure. Baltimore hasn't got swept very often since Adley Rutschman's been up with the big league. So a little bit of a shock there. Kansas City ends up taking a 2-game series against St. Louis in St. Louis. Houston takes care of business, sweeping Miami. Not much of a surprise there. And a 2-game series with Seattle and San Diego. It was Seattle with the 2-game series sweep there. Lots of sweeps this week. It'll be interesting to see what happens this week. I go 8-6-1 this week. Dylan goes 9-5-1. Dylan goes 3-2 head-to-head, so he picks up a game. Dylan is 212, 160, and 30 on the season. I'm 223, 149, and 28. 12 games up so far. Almost halfway through this season, I guess. Trade deadline's coming. All-Star game's coming. Home Run Derby just got solidified, so that's always fun to watch. And let's get into this weekend's games. We're going to start in the American League. Seattle at the Angels. Angels, 2-8 in their last 10. Had a little hot stretch for a little bit, won 6 in a row, but they've cooled off significantly. The Mariners aren't a very good baseball team right now. I know they're in first place. They've won 3 in a row, right? But like if you compare them to other first place teams, the Orioles are better. I guess you can say maybe they're better than the Guardians, but the Guardians have better offense. The Phillies are better, right? I mean, if you go down the list of first place teams, and I feel like it's quite a significant difference of how they play. So, I think Seattle takes the series. This is the only 4-game series this weekend, and I think Seattle's going to win this one. Tampa Bay hosts Cleveland. I am going to take Cleveland in this one, although Tampa Bay just did take 2 of 3 from the struggling Yankees. We'll get to them in a second here. Not very good over in the Bronx right now, if you're a Yankees fan. Obviously, Tampa Bay coming into tonight 5.5 out of a wild card spot, so they're kind of hanging around that 500 mark. And obviously, Cleveland leading their division, right, 57-35. Just when you think maybe they're going to take a step back, they just continue to get it done. I mean, they're kind of doing what the Rays have been doing in the American League East all those years, right? So just find a way to scratch and claw, 90 wins here and there. So, getting to the Yankees, they are in Baltimore, and the All-Star break cannot come fast enough for the New York Yankees. It has been an incredible cold stretch for them right now. They just lost 2 of 3 to Tampa Bay. They lost 2 of 3 to Boston. They got swept by Cincinnati. They ended up taking 2 of 3 against the lowly Blue Jays. They got swept in the Subway Series against the Mets. They lost 2 of 3 to Atlanta. They lost 2 of 3 to Baltimore. They haven't won very many series in the last month or so. I believe they have one of the worst records in all of Major League Baseball, worse than the Oakland A's in the last month. It's just been that kind of stretch for the New York Yankees. I picked them to beat Tampa Bay last week. They didn't get it done. So I'm going to go Baltimore this week. I'm going to go Baltimore this series, I should say. The Yankees, they're a good ball team. They're a good ball team. They got Cole, they got Rodon, and they got Hill going this series. So maybe they get it done in this series, but the offense has got to get going, man. They're just not scoring enough runs right now. They're not pitching it very well. Yeah, like I said, that old saying, saved by the bell, they're getting saved by the All-Star break here. I mean, or at least they're going to try to get saved by the All-Star break because if there's a team that needs a break right now, it is definitely the New York Yankees. Texas at Houston, obviously a battle between two Texas teams here. I'm going to take Texas here. They just did take 2 of 3 from the Angels, and would you look at that? 2 games out of a first place spot here are the Astros. If you would have told me that 3 months ago when they had a historically slow start, I would have believed you, but I wouldn't think they would make this much ground up. I thought they would have slowly progressed, and maybe into August and September, they'd be knocking on the door this close to getting into first place, but I didn't think they'd be 2 games out of first place at the All-Star break. And it's just been a remarkable turnaround. They've won 3 in a row. They've won 7 of their last 10. Recently, they just rattled off 13 of 17. So they're playing really good ball right now. They're up to a plus 49 in run differential. They've been really good at home, 27 and 19. Although what does scare me is they're 16 and 25 against teams that are over 500. So right now they're beating up on some bad teams. And if they want to kind of solidify a playoff spot, you got to get that record a little better than that against teams above 500, in my opinion. Rounding out the American League, we got the Boston Red Sox hosting the Kansas City Royals. I am going to go the Boston Red Sox. They're playing really well right now, man. They're 5.5 out of a wild card spot, and this is going to be a very interesting team at the deadline because obviously they need some help with right-handed power against left-handed pitching. Right? Do they go out and get Justin Turner, who played there last year, right? Mashes left-handed pitching. Having a little bit of a down year for the Toronto Blue Jays, but familiarity there. He had his best season of his career in Fenway last year. 96 RBIs, a career high. That is definitely a fit. Maybe if Texas falls out, they reunite with a guy like Nate Eovaldi, right? They need some starting pitching. They need some help against the left-handed pitching. So that's an interesting team to keep an eye on at the deadline because not many people expected them to make the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on in that series. But I am going to go with the Red Sox. Shifting over to the National League, it's going to be Colorado at New York taking on the Mets. I'm going to go to the Mets here. Colorado, yeah. It's been a frustrating season, 33 and 61 on the year. It's another build year for the Rockies, and it's frustrating. I mean, they don't spend much money, and the Mets are in a wild card spot, which is absolutely kind of crazy to me because they were really, really bad the first 2.5 months of the season, and they really turned it around in June. They're 1 game up in the 3rd wild card spot, tied with the San Diego Padres for that final wildcard spot. So good for them. Another team that has a really high payroll. We'll see what happens with the Mets. Pending UFA in Pete Alonso. And I know there's been extension talks. There's been kind of nothing happening there. There's reports today that came out that the Houston Astros are interested in Alonso. If they do make Alonso available, there will be a list of teams lining up to get his services because when he's on, he's one of the best right-handed power hitters in the league, right? So that'll be very interesting to see what direction the Mets go towards the trade deadline. If they fall out, they could sell a guy like Pete Alonso, but if they stick around, they might be buyers at the deadline. Miami at Cincinnati. I'm going to go Cincinnati. Miami, last place, worse than the Rockies right now. And Cincinnati's 3 games out of a wild card spot. I thought they'd be better than this, to be honest. I thought their pitching would take another step. Hunter Green obviously made the All-Star game, so props to him. Jonathan India's put together a really good stretch of baseball as of late, and it'll be interesting to see what goes on in this wild card race because from the Padres, Diamondbacks, Pirates, Cubs, Reds, and Giants, all those teams are only separated by 2-3 games. So it's a very tight race in the National League wildcard race. And even the Washington Nationals, they've lost 5 in a row. So obviously they've slid a little bit back, but they're only 6 games back. So still some striking distance there for them. But speaking of the Nationals, they are going to be in Milwaukee taking on the Brewers. Brewers obviously in that first place spot in the NL Central. 54-40. They've lost 6 of their last 10, so that's something to definitely keep an eye on. One of the best home teams this year, 28-15. Definitely been enjoying some home cooking. I am going to go Milwaukee in this series. I just think they're going to get it done offensively. Chicago Cubs at St. Louis. Chicago is another team. They're like the Mets right now, right? It's a very interesting team. Obviously, they just lost Cody Bellinger, who got hit in the hand. He just went on the IL. But this is a team that had some expectations coming into this season, right? And it hasn't gone as planned. They're like the New York Yankees right now. They haven't won very many series as of late. They have turned it around a little bit. They have won 4 in a row. They just did sweep Baltimore, so that has definitely got to be a confidence booster for them. But before that, they lost a series to Philly. They lost a series to Milwaukee. They got swept by San Francisco. They lost 2 of 3 to the New York Mets. They lost a series to St. Louis. You sprinkle in a series win against the Angels, and then obviously Baltimore there. But it's a team that has significantly, underperformed, and they're under 500 by 4 games. So obviously losing a guy like Bellinger hurts your offense right now, but they got to get it going for sure. Atlanta at San Diego. I am going to go Atlanta here. Atlanta is first place in the wild card. Obviously, still a ways to go to catch the Phillies in the East. They did just play. It was the Phillies taking 2 of 3 from Atlanta in Atlanta. Dylan was actually at one of those games. So that must have been pretty cool for him to go to. And yeah, I'm going to go Atlanta here. On the road, I think they can get it done in San Diego. Shifting over to the Interleague, the Dodgers are at Detroit. Detroit is 7 games out of a wild card spot. LA sits first, obviously, in the NL West. Definitely one of the best teams in this division and in the whole National League, for that matter. I am going to go with the Dodgers here. Oakland at Philly, not really much to add here. Obviously, you got Mason Miller there in that back end. If you get a lead late, could win that game. But I'm going to go the Phillies here. They're playing better baseball. They've won 7 of their last 10. Pittsburgh at the White Sox. I'm going to go Pittsburgh. Paul Skeens is absolutely electric to watch. He's going to win the Rookie of the Year in the National League, and he might win the Cy Young, man. I know it's an uphill battle, and a lot of rookies don't win the Cy Young, but man, is he ever making a case. 7 no-hit innings, 11 Ks, set a career high in strikeouts already. He's only had 11 starts in the majors, and he's carried a no-hitter into the 6th inning and then the 7th inning. He got pulled today with 99 pitches. So obviously when you rack up strikeouts, I guess that's a pro and a con. You're getting a lot of strikeouts, but the pitch count gets up there, right? So Paul Skeens is electric. Jared Jones is electric. 2 amazing 1-2 starters for Pittsburgh to root for. Their fans have come out to support in droves. It's been a packed house at PNC. It's great. They're 2.5 out of a wild card spot. I would love if Pittsburgh could buy at the deadline. That would be awesome for that market and that fan base to get a playoff team. They haven't had a playoff team since, I want to say, the Russell Martin days. It's been a long time. They might have made one in between there, but yeah, it would be awesome for not only that market, but I feel like just fans of baseball if Pittsburgh was in the playoffs, because obviously getting to watch Paul Skeens and Jared Jones on the big stage, yeah, that would be really cool. If Pittsburgh did get aggressive at the deadline, they got a pretty good system too. So they definitely got some prospects to work with if they want to swing a big deal. Toronto at Arizona. Toronto just took 2 of 3 from the San Francisco Giants, and Diamondbacks just split a 4-game series with the Braves. So I'm going to take the Jays here. Arizona is 1 game out of a wild card spot. I should have no business taking the Blue Jays here. I just have a weird feeling that they're going to win this series. Obviously, the Jays are going to have Jose Barrios, Yusei Kikuchi, and Yara Rodriguez going in this one. So I like the pitching. I like the Jays pitching in a lot of matchups. It's just a matter if they score runs. If the Jays score 3 or more runs, they usually win most games, but they haven't been scoring many runs lately. So they did put a 10 spot up in game 2 of that series against the Giants, but a report came out today and said the Jays are not trading anybody under team control for 2025. So that means no Bichette or no Vlad Guerrero Jr. getting traded based on those reports. But they just did put Kevin Kiermaier on revocable waivers to try and get somebody to claim his money, which I highly doubt that's going to happen. He's getting paid $10.5 million this year, pending UFA. They're going to be sellers at the deadline for sure. They're 8.5 out of a wild card spot. They're going to be trading Justin Turner, Yusei Kikuchi, Danny Jansen. Yeah, they're going to be selling at the deadline for sure. They have the third worst system in all of baseball according to MLB Pipeline. So, yeah, you gotta rebuild that farm a little bit, trade your pending UFAs, and I guess try and get under their luxury tax. I guess that's what the goal would be for sure for them. Rounding out the Interleague and the final series of this weekend, it's going to be Minnesota at San Francisco. I'm going to take Minnesota here. Obviously, Webb and Jordan Hicks are not going to pitch in this series. So based on that reason, I'm going to go the Twins. I feel like they have a better offense and they have a better pitching staff. So just to recap, Dylan has Seattle, Cleveland, Baltimore, Houston, Boston, the Mets, Cincinnati, Milwaukee, St. Louis, Atlanta, the Dodgers, Philly, Pittsburgh, Arizona, and Minnesota. And I got Seattle, Cleveland, Baltimore, Texas, Boston, the Mets, Cincinnati, Milwaukee, St. Louis, Atlanta, the Dodgers, Philly, Pittsburgh, Toronto, and Minnesota. If you like this video, give us a like and subscribe. We're over 1,000 subscribers. We appreciate all of you for subscribing and listening, liking our videos. Obviously, we just relaunched this channel a few months ago, and it's growing pretty rapid. So if you have any ideas, give us a comment. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one.